Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Mostly welcome to the Academy, Pontifical Academy of Social Science. Let me just address a few words on the topic of this workshop. Let me start from this remark. One of the marks of our time is a constant call for ethics, which has progressively replaced, over the past quarter of a century, the persistent call for politics typical of the 60s, when the slogan was "everything is politics." However, this agreement on the primacy of ethics ceases when it comes to practical issues. As McIntyre observed in After Virtue, the apodictic use of moral principles serves only to put an end to the ethical dialogue itself. In other words, the broad convergence on ethics in public debate almost never translates into ethical consensus. Yet, the phenomena we are observing in the world in these days, which are at the origin of a rapidly changing world, make a new update of principles and values urgent and necessary. The topic of this workshop is a new form of solidarity. The principle of solidarity is an ancient one, as we know. It is one of the four pillars of Catholic social teaching. So, in which sense can we speak today of new forms? It is a fact that we are facing in this time a silent counter-revolution, that of social de-solidarity that manifests itself in the growing expansion of the many areas of exclusions that tend to drive the existential outskirts, as Pope Francis calls them. What do we find at the roots of such a tendency? A specific cause has to do with the endemic and systematic increase of inequalities, which are advancing faster than the increase of income and wealth. Yet, inequality is not a fate, nor a historical constant. It is not a fate because it has to do with the institutional structure, that is, with the rules of the economic game that society decides to give itself. Depending on how they are designed, the rules, different consequences affect how income and wealth are distributed among those who have contributed to produce them. Nor are rising inequalities an historical constant, because there have been times when in some countries they diminished. The question then arises, if inequalities do not increase because resources are scarce, or because we do not know how to act, or because they are due to particular hardship affecting certain categories of people, what are they the ultimate result of? I do not hesitate to answer that this is due to the widespread belief in two dogmas of injustice. The first dogma is that society, as a whole, would benefit if individuals acted for their own personal gain. That is doubly false, as many scholars, and some of them are present in this room, have shown since a long time. Let me quote Condorcet. Condorcet had already realized this point in 1794 when he wrote in his esquisse, I quote, "It is easy to show that fortunes tend naturally to equality and that excessive disparity either cannot exist or must quickly cease unless civil laws impose artificial means to perpetuate them." That is 1794. And civil laws, in his jargon, are nothing but what we call today the rules of the game. The other dogma of injustice is the belief that elitism has to be encouraged because it produces efficiency, in the sense that the welfare of the majority increases all the more if the abilities of the few are promoted. Therefore, resources, incentives, attention should be reserved to the most gifted, because it is their commitment that advances the progress of society. The exclusion of the less talented from the economic activity, for example, in the form of job insecurity and unemployment, is something to be accepted to foster growth. And that, once again, this dogma too lacks any scientific foundation, as we now note. In other words, to conclude, it seems to us that of the Academy, we were very receptive to the proposal to organize this workshop, because the topic we are discussing today in a very intensive day is really very important. Let me only conclude by quoting Laudato Si. The message of hope that comes from Laudato Si is that the certainties offered by techno-scientific progress are not sufficient for us. This progress has increased and will continue to increase our ability to find the means to achieve all kinds of goals. But if the problem of means is presenting itself today more favorably than it once did, the same cannot be said for the problem of the ends. Hence, the need for a new hope. And the old hope was directed to the means. The new hope is directed to the end we decide to pursue. Now, if it is true that abandoning the search for means would be foolish, it is also true that the new hope goes directly to the ends. And having hope today means exactly this: to consider ourselves neither as the mere result of processes beyond our control, nor as self-sufficient beings with no need to establish a solidarity relationship with the others. So thank you very much, and many, many wishes for a fruitful job.